Wait for Dr. Mitchell and we'll get started.
We just grabbing the black copy.
Oh, can you grab me one too, Lori? I didn't realize they were.
Anyone else want
Thank you,
a
Mariah.
copy? Oh,
I just like to put it in my file.
here.
Just a hard copy of tonight's agenda.
I'll take one, please.
I like to write mine. I do too. Yes. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else want one?
Michael.
Yes.
But that's not your dominant hand, right?
No.
One blessing. Anyone else want the hard copies?
I'll take one. All right. With that said, I would like to welcome everyone to the Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 regular school committee meeting. If we can all stand for Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over Michael's shoulder. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could just take a moment to reflect on those that are in harm's way, less fortunate circumstances than all of us here today. Thank you all. I will now consider a motion to enter into executive session under RIGL section 42-46-582.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll now enter into executive session. I know it said via roll call there, but this is pretty standard vote. All right, good deal. And we are now into executive session. are reconvening an open session. Notification, there were no votes taken in executive session, and I will consider a vote to seal the minutes of executive session. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Item 4, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Item 4.1 through 4.6.
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. And now it is time for public input. Excellent. Mariah, you have the clock perfect. You'll have 3 minutes. And Richard, say your last name, sir? Capiarolo will be up first. And once you state your name and address, the clock will start and you feel free to go.
Do I stand? Fine.
Sure.
From here. Okay. Good evening. My name is Richard Capirolo. I live at 180 Harmon Avenue in Cranston, Rhode Island. I am here on behalf of First Student, where I serve as Rhode Island's area general manager. As you know, in a few moments, the committee will be hearing the district's recommendation and voting to select a business partner to transport our Little Compton students to and from school for the next 3 years. Which is going to help the district to provide comprehensive educational community with high academic standards so they become respectful, motivated, respectful, and self-confident contributors to the community and the world. That is the district's mission. We have been proudly partnering with Little Compton Schools for decades as the largest and most chosen student transportation provider. We are a proven solution. We have more experience than any other provider. Our proven ability to provide reliable service and our commitment to student safety is why parents trust us and this school district partner with us across the country. We know that, but members of the community and members of the community might be asking why First Student is the best choice to continue to transport students in Little Compton. So I'd like to highlight just 4 areas that are relevant to the community. Number 1, our national scale with local focus. Number 2, our safe and reliable service. Number 3, the solutions that we offer to the district. And number 4, our out-of-district transportation solution. Just to elaborate on each one of these 4 points, our national scale, what that means is that we have a big footprint, not just here in Rhode Island, but nationwide. In Rhode Island, we have 11 locations. We staff 1,220 drivers and aides throughout the state. We service 13 school districts and we operate 650 vehicles. So this network of support is what allows us to find solutions to logistic challenges, to assist locations with additional driver or vehicle resources. And this level of support is what we offer to the Little Compton School Department to continue to have a reliable partner to transport our students. With regards to our safety, no other school bus company provides a level of technology solutions that can ensure the highest performance, the safest performance to transport the community. We have developed our own tools that no other company provides. These are effective and proven solutions that will ensure our buses are safe and the students make it to school every single day. With regards to out-of-district transportation, I'd like to point out just a couple of things. Rhode Island faces a rising student transportation costs, particularly with regards to displaced and special needs students that need to be transported across city lines. By partnering with First Student, Little Compton Public School will have access to transportation solutions that would allow the district to enjoy affordable, cost-effective transportation to transport out-of-district students. Thank you for your time. I think I exceeded the 3 minutes. Here for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Sir,
I'm just watching.
you were just signing in. Amy or Mr. and Mrs. Rocha, did you have any comment? No? Okay. Thank you. All right, let me just see where we're here. Did public input. All right, spotlight of excellence over to Principal McKinnon.
Thank you, Chairperson Audi. John will get this up in a moment. So right now, we're currently in the throes of our RIDECAST assessments. They'll be going on basically for the next month. We began this week with DLA. It should be finished tomorrow with the exception of a few makeups, and that will be the week that we get back from April vacation. We quickly jump into NGSA science for eighth graders only. We're trying to get them done before they head off to DC, which is fast approaching. And then the final math RICAS will be taking the first full week, May 6th through May 9th, I believe it is. A couple of things that have happened last couple of weeks. The week of March 24th through the 28th, we had our School Spirit Week. This was put together by our student council under the direction of Lee Torres. It's always a hoot seeing the kids dress up, seeing the teachers dress up. Just brings a lot of fun and excitement to the long winter time, even though it was in the spring, start of spring. Next slide, John. Our sixth grade symposium took place last week, Thursday, April 3rd. And basically our students in sixth grade, they've been doing this now for a few years. What the sixth graders do is they look for inventors, looking for problems and the solutions. And they talk about some real neat things, whether it's, bringing water to areas of the world where there is no water. There was one student who had, it was how to fix asphalt without putting down new asphalt. It was a gentleman out of, I believe it was out of the Norway, somewhere along the lines. But the kids in our sixth grade group really did a fantastic job. Many of them being able to speak about their topic without the use of any kind of index cards or any kind of support. They really did a fantastic job. Next slide. As you remember, last weekend was the start of Elf Jr., the musical. I have to shout out, certainly the three directors, Noah Russo, Nicole Oriel, and Jen Segal. They all have certain roles within the musical, as some of you know. But the kids did an absolute fantastic job. It was actually as professional a performance as you could see from 7-year-olds to 13-year-olds putting on. They did a great job. And again, I need to shout out those three people that I mentioned, our teachers, Noah, Nicole, and Jen. We also had a woman who helped us out over the last couple of months who came in. She was actually used to be a wardrobe specialist for Diana Ross back in the day. And she took care of all of our elf outfits, for the show, and really did a fantastic job. Again, shout out to our parent volunteers and everybody who helped out, because it was quite the performance. Finally, the week during Spirit Week, we also had our Advocacy Day that took place. Now, the Advocacy Day is part of the community project. This is something new this year that we added. It was basically an opportunity for our students who are not finished with their projects, but basically to advocate for their projects. They had an opportunity to stand up in front of members of the community, some people who they worked with, worked for, and presented their projects. Those who were there, I think, saw a true indication of the power of the community project and the power of, the students given opportunities and resources, and what, a 13, 14-year-old could do. It was really a great opportunity for our school to exhibit itself. Amy, I know you're here as a IB coordinator. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. I know that was something both Ms. Lotz and Mr. Torres kind of put together this year. Again, not something we've done in the past.
Yeah. So this was our first advocacy day, and it was, like Mr. Rickon had said, to give the students a platform to advocate for the needs or the cause that they had identified within the community. And so these photos, you can see, they really showed up and they did a great job, and they knew their topics well. And I think that they were proud. I think they should be proud. And then on May 1st, we'll have a culminating showcase event, and we have more information coming about that. And that takes place after school, so we will hopefully be able to see the community come in for that.
John, that'll be the next slide, if you don't mind. This is just upcoming in the spring. It's a busy time of the year. But again, basically running through it, as Amy talked about, the community project final presentations will be taking place on Thursday, May 1st. As you get closer to the end, the days are somewhat set, but they are subject to change, based on some other things. We are looking at our 8th grade graduation on Monday, June 16th. And part of that is because we have 7 of our students heading to a civics bee on Tuesday, June 17th, statewide. 7 of the 21 students in Rhode Island will be participating at the civics bee in East Greenwich. So we're looking at graduation on Monday, June 16th. And that is what's happening in our school right now.
Excellent.
Awesome.
As somebody that I think many of us present at either the IB advocacy and or the theater show this weekend. I know multiple parents had stars in that show. Just really awesome.
It was.
Just
It
really
was.
And to your point of seeing the young people be able to not only stand up on stage, but also give presentations. It's really to see them comfortable at this age is incredibly encouraging and certainly empowering to see them really take these things on and these tasks and these outcomes that they're pursuing. Really something.
Exactly.
Thank you, Amy. And certainly Mr. Torres, his ears are ringing somewhere. All right, on to item 7.
Just a quick,
Over to Dr. Mitchell.
yeah, just Jonathan's bringing that up, kind of a quirky, comprehensive list. Thank you, Jonathan. So I always keep track of professional learning opportunities here at the school and also the district. But I've never really put them in a nice whiteboard on Canva. This is not representative of all of the professional learning, professional development opportunities that we participate in as a learning community, but it is a good sampling. Scroll a little bit. I segmented them by student support services because it is our brand new ground up department. Thank you, Mariah, for all the work you do. Mariah is our acting clerk, co-clerk, because Carolyn Sedgwick is also helping out, but she's also our student support services administrative assistant and our data coordinator. And so she has coordinated a lot of these opportunities that you see on the left there. Some they're not meant to be read, out loud, but just to scroll and see a few. Hazel Health, as you all are aware, was rolled out last week, and that was a lot of professional learning for the team. The team included our IT director, who played a part. It included student support services, also Mary Elizabeth Miller. And so there's IB, International Baccalaureate professional learning there that our consultant has participated in. I will be heading down to FLIBS in a few weeks to look at the primary years program and the feasibility of bringing that here. Jack will be heading to DC to the Model Schools Conference that he has attended as a principal for the past maybe 10 years or so.
No, the last 3.
Okay. And did you also go in Woonsocket?
I did.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I was doing math. We rolled out PowerSchool this year. It's an updated version of TriNet. And so that is our database for our special ed program. We capture all of our IEPs in there, et cetera. Scroll down a little more. We rolled out a SNAP health portal for our school nurse. She's engaged in a lot of professional learning. Jeannie Dunn, give her props for that. We have a farm to school team here, and they participate, I would say, every other week in meetings, but they also went to a training last year over a few days at the URI campus in Narragansett. We have our new Student Support Services Director, Mark Dufresne. He belongs to and attends the state and the national professional association for special ed directors. He continues to do that, scroll down a little bit more. Our HR director just finished a pretty deep dive into a mental health certification pathway. And she has also attended a Wellness Coordinator Academy planning workshop. So she keeps us really busy with all of the health and wellness initiatives here on campus. We had 3 participants at Yale University last year, and now we have 5 going through training. And I would say almost all of these professional learning opportunities are either free or nominal, the costs. And some of them we are paid for with Title II funds, professional development, federal grant funds. Carolyn and I, on the district level, always attend the Open Government Summit. Sometimes we stream it, sometimes we go in person. We did have 2 teachers, Marissa Brazil and Jessica Higgins. They were awarded a wonderful grant. I think I highlighted that a few weeks ago in your Friday night memo, and it was diving into the ocean twilight zone, and that was funded by the Office of Naval Research. We just got word the other day that those grants are frozen. We are advocating for them to be thawed, and so I and other superintendents are advocating for that. So we are hopeful that that will occur. So that's just a smattering of things. And what I'm going to do is keep this list somewhere in our website so that the public can access it and keep on adding to it. Jack and I throughout the school year, and that is it. So it's not only our students who are challenged every day, but our staff is engaged weekly.
Yes.
Professional learning opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
No
I
problem.
think I walked in on a wellness session in the gym today.
Yes.
Yes.
No playing.
I thought the kids were playing, but no, it was some sort of fitness.
Fitness with kettlebells, and
Yes.
weights, and you name it, and that's twice a
Excellent to
week.
see such high participation.
Very helpful.
All right, over to the man that wears many hats, none tonight at the table, but outside of this building, several hats. Mr. John McEnany. Finance.
Thank you. We've completed 9 months of the year. So the 331 numbers in my projection are reflecting a small deficit. We're still looking at around 66,000 for that. And going through my projection, I didn't see any items that would lead me to believe that there would be any significant fluctuations in those numbers. I have taken down things like the electricity costs down from where we were at to right now. I think we've got about 9,900 spent on that, but I projected about 15,000. We still have not received the bill, the main account on the electricity side. So at this point, I'm not envisioning having any additional significant charges in electricity at this point. I think as far as any unusual repairs, I think we've got those covered. And we do have a little bit of a fluctuation, certainly in out-of-district tuition for vocational ed for some additional students. And right now, we seem to be tracking okay on the out-of-district special education number. As we move into the capital reserve, and as I mentioned at the last meeting, we do have a 30% investment tax credit that we're going to be waiting on the feds to approve the project so I can file a tax return and get that money back. Good news is the IRS has acknowledged that I set up an account. It's a good sign, I guess. Somebody's over there. But beyond that, I haven't got a registration number. So as soon as I get a registration number, I then can file a tax return and get that 30% investment credit back, which I believe is in the neighborhood of 168,000. I have applied and we should receive shortly PAYGO funding. So instead of waiting till next year to get housing aid on the solar, we should be receiving 111,083, which is going to be our share of the housing aid that we would have received next year, but we'll receive that this year. And speaking with RIDE, in the event that the investment tax credit goes by the wayside for some reason, with this new administration, who knows? I then would submit that additional money for housing aid and we get 35% of that back. So we're not going to get dollar for dollar on the 168, but we get 35% of that back anyway at this point. But I still haven't heard anything that definitely says that investment tax credit's not in play. I think the IRS is struggling with getting people to review these projects, and so.
Thank you, Mr. McNamee.
Travis, one question. So at the end of the day, what do you expect? I mean, if everything falls in line, what do you think that's gonna come back to us in the form of a check? What would you say from all your different avenues? Do you have that number, or do you, what we
Yeah,
say?
it's 168,000. Yeah, so we're still gonna be, if that 168 comes back, on net cost for that solar, it's gonna be 21,000.
Right,
In the event that we don't get the 168, we're gonna get 1/3 of that back from RIDE. So that would be 50,000 and change back from RIDE in housing aid. But I'm still optimistic that the investment tax credit, because it's in the law, even with the new tax law that's being introduced, I don't think that's going to impact the existing law that's in place. And again, this project was completed well before the election and before any of the negotiations had made on this new tax law. So
you talked about monies, the credits that we could have got next year and getting that this year.
right.
Is that part of that 168 that you speak?
No, that's on top of that.
So that's why I'm asking. So what's the total at the end of the day when we, next year plus, is that 168 plus that 111 that you speak of, or is that?
Well, it's the 168, the 111, we got 75,000 already from the state.
Yeah.
So, and then we get the 185 from the town. So that's already been, we've already received the 185.
Yeah.
We received the 75, we should have the 111 and probably within the next month.
111.
Yeah, so really the only outstanding amount is that 168.
So it's 168 and 111 that we should still anticipate coming to us.
Correct, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. McNamee. All right, on to committee reports, policy subcommittee report. We are yet to meet. However, we will be meeting soon. I want to say sometime in the month of May. We will certainly communicate that to parents and stakeholders when we are meeting. Currently, all of our laws, or excuse me, all of our policies are compliant with the laws both locally and federally. We are not under any pressure to make changes to be in compliance. Item 9.2. Portsmouth School Committee liaison report, Mr. Mark Leisha.
Thank you, Chair. Couple of things to report from the March 25th meeting. The committee recognized several Portsmouth High School students from the video production program for their performance in the Student Television Network Film Excellence National Competition, including junior Ellery Canane, who came in second. Girls varsity made it to the Final Four in the state tournament, losing to the eventual state champs. But they had a great run. District updates included recent school and district events, as well as information on the 2025 survey works, 2025 state assessment calendar, and a winter sports season wrap up, which I alluded to. And there were 2 resolutions and 2 updated policies, which I have here if anybody's interested. Also, additionally, it was Foreign Language Week, March 10th through the 14th. announcements being read in various languages and flying of various national flags on the flagpole. There was a competition and an international volleyball tournament. On March 12th, the music department hosted its annual scholarship concert at the Little Theater, and they marched in the Newport St. Patrick's Day Parade as they do annually. Students in grade 9 and 10 participated in a law and cybersecurity presentation from the Rhode Island Attorney General's office. On the 12th, there was a Teacher of the Year forum, and those nominations I think are currently open through the beginning of May for Teacher of the Year, Support Professional of the Year. And that's pretty much it. Gymnastics moved up to Division I too in another sports update. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you got it.
Wellness Committee Liaison, Mr. Chase, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent.
Travis. Well, I have nothing new to report since our last meeting, but we have scheduled a tentative meeting for Monday, April 28th. So I'll have more next month.
Excellent. So April 20. All right, back to Mr. Mark Leisher, Town Recreation Committee.
You know what? We did not meet in the month of March. So, but it seems that everything's moving along. We had a special meeting a couple of days ago about just a specific piece to do with tennis courts. And I think everybody kind of talked briefly that everything that I reported on last month is moving forward just swimmingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, scholarship subcommittee report. The scholarships are out. I know that we have them posted both online on our website, I believe at the high school, and our deadline date is April 30th. How are we doing? Are we getting receipts? Does anyone know? Carolyn, no?
Who's on that committee?
Well, I am, but I'm just saying, they don't come directly to me. They would come to the school.
Yeah, we have a running tally going,
Okay, good, beautiful.
but we'd love more. And
Yes.
if anybody would like to.
All right, so let's continue to blast that out. If we could blast that out at, share that with Dr. Kenworthy.
Yep.
And just to be on top of it, certainly all Little Compton students. And we've had certainly students, both homeschool that are pursuing secondary education and private school that are Little Compton residents have applied for the committee or the scholarship, and they are more than welcome to do so. And then finally, I will be brief on the negotiation subcommittee report. Right, Sean, I can just share that the negotiations have started with the teachers union.
That's about it.
And that is about it. We have exchanged ground rules. There is nothing more to report. All right, discussion item. This is something we have to address each year. We've kind of not done so. So it was Michael that brought it up that, hey, in our policy, it says that we're going to discuss the tuition rate here. And it's something that I know I have been thinking about, and people have approached me about. So tonight we wanted to open the discussion. Certainly have Mr. McNamee share some of the information you shared with the budget committee. Do you possibly have that sheet? That slide, if you will. And then, yes, this is there's no vote tonight. I wanted to make sure all not just the committee, but certainly the general public are aware that this is something that we are discussing and we will most likely be voting on in a future meeting. Currently, our out-of-district tuition is $6,000 annually for out-of-district families. And there has been talks as to whether or not that should increase and what that increase would look like. And if there would be stipulations, possible credits, these types of things. So this, for tonight, it's really to make sure everybody gets the information that Dr. Mitchell shared this morning via email. And then also that Mr. McNamee shared with the budget committee in terms of cost per student to get them up and running, enrolled, and moving forward. I guess I'll start off by saying that this is a sensitive issue to me. I grew up having everything I needed, but not everything I wanted. And I think about the parents that want to send their child here and the rate at which it's at. And I would hate to see an increase that inhibits them from doing so. So something that I'm floating around, I'll just share some of my thoughts, is a nominal increase, or first off, we can keep it as is. We're not at capacity in classrooms, as I understand it from Mr. McNamee, Dr. Mitchell, and Principal McKinnon. We can certainly take on more students. We have continued to trend in the right direction in terms of in growing our out-of-district enrollment. This year, there's 34 out-of-district students, paying students. So keeping it flat certainly would appease those that are not only in district, but also those that are interested in pursuing education outside of the existing district they live in. Another idea I have in just discussions with folks on the budget committee and throughout town is each year the school is tasked with presenting a budget to the town and calculating an increase. This year, I believe our increase is 2.62%.
It is.
And we would reflect that type of increase, that ask that we make of the town into our tuition. So that's another option. And certainly I'm going to let everyone share the piece. The third option I thought of, and this was a really creative option that came from multiple parents. And while I don't know if it's possible, but I will share it. Let's say we were to increase the tuition to, let's say, $6,500 per student. We would then create incentives based on academic performance. And that doesn't mean your student has to be a stellar academically, but we see that they're showing up and improving. So academic performance, attendance being better than, I think better than 10% absentee rate. I'd like to see it below that. I think that that's an incentive. And then certainly if your student is a good citizen within the school, so you're behaviorally a dream to work with. And I think that we could figure out that if you're checking 2 or 3 of those boxes, that we could reduce your rate 10% to incentivize people from out of district to come here, especially if you have in your mind a kid that's a great fit, both behaviorally and academically and attendance wise. I don't know if that's possible, but it's certainly something, like I said, I'm just throwing out a bunch of ideas here. I know that there have been people that think we need to double the tuition rate. I feel as though that we would hinder our continued growth in gaining out of district tuition and maybe even lose the existing students we have. But I would like to hear from other members of the committee as to what your thoughts would be while we're throwing out and spitballing ideas on what the future of the district and the tuition looks like. Anyone, please.
Sure, why not?
Go ahead, Michael.
So I'm the one that's been pushing for this for a while. I think, as Travis mentioned, that it seems like our budgets keep going up and up and up every year when we come towards budget season, but we've held flat line on our tuition rate at the $6,000 rate that was, I believe it's going on 4 years or maybe 5 years now that it's been at 6,000. But if you look at the amount of increased costs that this district has taken on, that has not been reflected in what we're charging outside students. And last month I had brought up the example of the amount of money that we pay for our students to go to Portsmouth. And I believe we're at what, 16, is it 16 this year or 16.5?
16.5. Yeah.
So our last contract that we just paid to Portsmouth, the town of Portsmouth, they were at what, $500 increments every year.
It was 15, 15.5, and then 16.5.
I'm sorry, it was what?
First 3 years, it was 15, 15.5, and then 16.5.
So it went up 1,000 the last.
Yeah.
So we have no problems for us paying that to another school, but for some reason it has not been reflected here that we're charging. And I know it's a hot topic item on what it actually costs us here to actually educate a student. And John will tell you one number and Ride will tell you a different number, but we know that that number is up around 26 to 29. When you factor everything in, so 6,000 is a drastically reduced rate in what it's actually costing us to educate a child in the school. Travis's thing you just came out with, I haven't heard that rendition yet, but
Thank you. It's one of my new songs, one of my new hits.
but I think we need to start getting something that's a little bit more serious. I know that the total cost, John, on this, I know you were trying to break this down over 3 years on some of the things, the Chromebooks and what have you, but and I mentioned this last month that I find that it costs us a lot more than $6,000 to educate a child. Because if it only costs us 6,000, then we're paying way too much money at the high school. And, to bring in the tuition students. So I think that this part here that we had talked about was based on one particular part of the pie when we asked for a breakdown on that. But the additional cost was based on the report.
That's the incremental cost. I mean, the reality is that if you go up to 12,000, you're not going to have anybody coming. And now you're going to lose $250,000 of revenue.
I don't know where the $12,000 number came from. I don't know where that.
I'm just throwing that out. I'm just saying that.
I'm not saying, I don't know where that is. So being that this committee doesn't get into dealing with families and how they get charged out. I don't know, how do families pay for tuition? Do they have to pay it all one lump sum? Is it get paid a monthly?
Quarterly.
So the $1,500 payments over.
And some people pay it all upfront.
Some do.
So in an increment of $500, an increase of $500 is about $125 more, right, per payment, right? We need something to show back to the taxpayers that we have people that are on both ends of the spectrum. There's some people that are in favor of this. There's some people that are not in favor of it. But for us to sit there and just say, well, we're going to just charge this flat rate because we want to just fill the seats and not take into consideration what our costs are that are going up. That's not a good picture either. You know what I mean? We need to, Travis always comes out and says that we need to be responsible to the people of our town. So in my mind, that we're not being responsible by not keeping our tuition in line with what our overhead costs are going forward. Because again, I've said this in the past where teachers have a value, and that value is their time is being spent with each of those students. So if you take the teacher is teaching 10 kids versus 15 kids because we're bringing in the tuition students, there's value to that, right? They're spending that extra time. So this little synopsis to me is not showing the full picture of what it really cost us for our salary plus our hard materials and what have you going forward. So I think that's something, and that's why I had asked for this layout tonight, and I'm glad that this is just a discussion tonight, and that this needs to continue going forward.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's my initial thoughts on that. If we were to, and I understand that there are some families that have multiple students that come to our school. I understand that, and I'm not trying to be hardline on this and saying and come across that I'm just after money, because that's not the case. I want to show that to the people of this town that we're responsible, but at the same time, I understand what it is with raising a family and what it costs to raise a family and the money and stuff. So I'm not saying that you know, whether we had you have two students, maybe we'll give you a different rate versus if you had one student. If you re-upped by the end of June, maybe we'll give you the previous year's rate going into the next year. But for us to stay there and just stay flatline, that's not, in my eyes, that's not acceptable. I don't want to take up all the time on this, but that's where I'm standing on this.
Thank you, Michael. Just please, Amy, Mark, Sue, we want, the point of this, and the reason we're not having a vote tonight is to hear what we think, go back and talk. I mean, I envision when this does come up for a vote, or as we continue to discuss this, there's going to be people, to Michael's point, on both sides of the aisle from the public that will come forward and share their concerns for either an increase or a flat stay or a decrease for that matter. So we really want to get the conversation going. It's very important that the public takes part in this, and not just this body, you know, sharing their ideas tonight as to how this looks. I think it's thoughtful that we get our ideas out to the public and in this forum, but I also don't think that we are the end all before hearing from the stakeholders of the community. So please.
Yeah, perhaps we should try to analyze some comps if possible and see what the national trends are, statewide trends, looking back a few years and see if there's any sort of guideline or maybe a guiding principle that can sort of look at increases that have worked in ways that it hasn't, and things like that. We can't be the only ones talking about this or who have brought this up before. There has to be some history. So that could be a way of kind of guiding us through figuring out what we should do about that. I love the idea of incentivizing things. I think sports is another great opportunity to try to attract people, perhaps. And every aspect of what we do here at Wilbur should be analyzed for a way to incentivize and get folks here.
Yes. Amy or Sue?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment, and maybe Mr. McNamee, you know this, the cost for a high school student. I mean, if Mike, I don't think we can compare the cost of a high school student to the cost of an elementary student.
Yeah, students, high schools generally are more expensive because of the curriculum and the offering they have in athletics and everything else at the high school level. So generally more expensive.
We actually pay more here than we do at Portsmouth. We pay more per student here in this school.
Yes, but that's an enrollment issue. So if we lost the out-of-district students, and let's just say the chart that Lori presented to us this morning, Dr. Mitchell presented to us this morning, has 180 Little Compton residents. So let's just for giggles call the school budget $8 million. At 180, you're at $44,000 a pupil, 44 and a half. Now,
we haven't factored in the high school students and the MET students and the CTE students.
so it's
and the out-of-district students. We're more than just Wilbur in
Sure.
terms of the students.
that's true.
It does feel like another one of those.
About 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can add too, there are additional, I would say above and beyond items that the district covers, like operating a public water system, providing a shared services agreement for public safety, certain other kind of responsibilities throughout town that, the cost of which is still factored in that cost per student number, but a lot of these other districts do not have those expenses.
Correct. I mean, I would venture to guess that we're the only school district in which the entire town's municipal water supply is reliant on.
It might be one other, like probably.
Okay, maybe one other.
It's
But
such
I
a-
mean, that's a pretty tall order.
Water meetings every week, Chris and I. If I may.
Please.
Also, we don't have a high school. We have no choice but to outsource that component of our instructional program.
Correct.
our tuition families do have options. They will exercise those options if tuition rate is not attractive. So there's the difference. You know, they do have options. They have opted to come here. We have no options. We must outsource that component. We must tuition out our secondary kids. So there is a difference there as well. We have no option but to float an RFP, get those bids, you know, and choose a district. It's very different for the families who are sending their children there. They do have options within a stone's throw, some of them, of their homes, and they do choose to come there.
And I understand what you're saying, that they have options, but because they have options doesn't mean that we flatline our rates going forward.
I agree.
That's not,
That's your domain.
Yeah, and-
Yeah, it's your domain, not ours.
We're discussing.
Yes, yeah.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that that's not a reason, because they have options, that we got to worry about. This is a very good deal for what people are receiving in this.
I think it is.
6,000.
I think it is a consideration though, that folks could decide to take their money and their students elsewhere, and then we're back at zero.
That's why I'm against basing our budgets on potential tuition students for the next year. Because you're basing budgets on speculation that those students are going to come back. That's why I've been against that before you guys came. That I'm not in favor of that. That speculation that they are going to return to us. Life changes, families change, people move. We shouldn't be building budgets on speculations.
I will also add that I am sensitive to what's going on in Tiverton right now and the closure of Fort Barton. And while I am not opposed to a nominal increase, I do also think that taking advantage of a situation that they're going through is not a good look for our community and us being neighborly. So while I think that a nominal increase might be acceptable, I'm definitely not into an increase in which our existing students say, or parents say, wow, that's an increase. And then out of district say, especially our neighbors in Tiverton, say, wow, look at them take advantage of a situation that we're in where I'm forced to decide, do I split my 3 kids that are under fifth grade and less and send them to Wilbur, or do I split them into 2 different schools in Tiverton based on what the rollout is over there? So what they're going through certainly does weigh on me. I mean, people have approached me in Lee's to bring up their concerns about and the options that Little Compton offers. So I am definitely sensitive to that issue that's arisen up there.
The trend in enrollment numbers shows an increase year over year. If we look at the last 3 years, or 5 years, is that correct?
I think one of the few districts, maybe one of 3.
3 districts in the entire state.
Where enrollment is higher than.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's a nominal increase. It's a 3.3% increase, but we are one of 3 districts in the entire state since COVID that has seen their numbers of enrollment go up. Those enrollment numbers are, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they are all due to the out of district program and its growth.
So it's not, I mean, speculation might be more of a trend that we're basing some of this information on. We're seeing that there is a desire to come here.
Absolutely.
And there's a need, and we can provide that, and we can.
Correct. And I
We
mean,
should do that. It's a benefit to everyone.
correct. And whether there's 180 students or 250 students at the beginning of the year, we have the fixed costs that will remain. So better to have more students in the seats at a number that is attractive to families in neighboring districts, than a number that is unattractive. And then we're at a fixed cost with a much lower student population. And to Michael's point, a much higher per pupil cost for the stakeholder.
So if I could follow up on your comment about Tiverton. This has nothing to do with taking advantage of Tiverton.
Well, we've had it at 6, after having it at 15.
Like, and just let me finish for one
Yeah.
second. This has got nothing to do with taking advantage of a situation that's going on now. This is more of a situation where we don't want to run this district like they run their district, where they are in the negative for their budgets. Yes, John's talking, protect, potentially a $60,000 or $66,000 negative. That's a big difference from being 1 million to 2 million to 3 million. So this has nothing to do with the people of Tiverton and what their predicament is.
No, I agree.
That is no excuse for us to base
No.
our decisions on how this school district is run financially as well as our day-to-day operations.
Well, I would say that a significant increase in tuition, perception is reality. And the perception would be to not only our local families that they're getting pinched, or the locals, or the out-of-district students that currently participate would say, wow, this is difficult for me. But then you think of the district that's to the north of us, and then thinking that maybe they're going to send their kids here, and they wake up to the news of, like I said, a significant increase. And now they're like, well, that to me, that doesn't rub right. I mean, I coach with these parents and these families and these kids. And Michael, I'm not opposed to an increase, but I think we have to be very careful as to what that increase is and the reason as to why we're doing it.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that if we're talking about the potential of an increase, that it would be moderate. I mean, the number that you had said earlier, Michael, was $500. So that was the number that you're
Correct.
talking about. So I don't think.
I wasn't coming back here looking for $5,000 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't, and I don't know where the $12,000 number came from, and that I really don't.
Before 6.
Yeah, so I mean, but we need to show something that we are keeping up with pace of our overhead, and even with that slight increase of $500 in this day, with the cost of everything, it's still not enough to cover what it actually cost us. If we really want to sit down there and really drill down on all the numbers,
What? Yeah, I don't know that we would all agree on that.
Well, I can say that when you look at what our tuition students are, plus the regular residents in here, there are times where we're putting into a second class, which means a second teacher.
We haven't hired anybody.
No, I haven't hired anybody, but what I'm saying is that when you look at the numbers, the attendance numbers, and you add what we're taking in our tuition students, as well as what we have for the regular students, there are times where it calls for the second teacher, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's my.
No, listen, this is why we're talking about this. I don't think there's any bad ideas. And to be honest with you, I think we gained a little bit more clarity that no one at this table or on this committee is looking to, double tuition or raise it by several $1,000s. I think we're all very sensitive to the economic times that are presented to everyone, whether they're a family or somebody on a fixed income, whatever the case is. But I think that we're all being very thoughtful in our approach to this, which is exactly what I call for, to your point, when we roll out our budget, is to be thoughtful to not only the families and parents of this school, but also the stakeholders of our district. Can we make sure that we have, I think everybody received the email. Can we make sure that this goes into our files because I know you presented this to the budget committee and they were very pleased with it.
All that, yes.
And so can we make sure we share that with
Yes,
the committee?
yes. I think you were the only committee member there.
I am going to, so with that being said, we've had a robust discussion. There are other agenda items to address. We will certainly keep this on the forefront of what's happening at the school. And
Is there a time when we should
Yeah,
be sort of?
So Michael has brought this up, people are deciding where to send their kids to school next year. I mean, we're already taking enrollment for kindergarten, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. McNamee, in your estimation, when would be a good time to put a bow on this? I was thinking possibly after the financial town meeting, but if you tell me otherwise, I mean, we can,
So you're gonna meet before the financial. town.
correct, we meet the week before.
Yeah, I think you would probably want to do it at the May meeting, but you gotta do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, then stay tuned. We can certainly send out a correspondence to our families that we will be discussing this at the May meeting.
Travis, can we, so just a clarification on that, when you say a vote, meaning that what our decision will be
Yeah.
in May?
Correct, a vote as to what the increase looks like. We'll have public
I
comment.
mean, the alternative being we postpone it another year, right?
Yeah,
There's,
No,
exactly, or we remain flat for another year, because we certainly can't do, people are gonna enroll. And then in July, we say, oh, good news, you enrolled, you're out of district, by the way, it's going up X.
yeah,
And then they're gonna be, we want it to be, like Mr. McNamee says, if you're gonna do it before the financial town meeting and the town's budget is approved.
what's the difference on that? How does that affect what you've already submitted? I mean, it's not gonna affect anything, right? At the end of the day,
We did have a 12% increase in healthcare. We had a 6% number in there, so we would have to massage the budget. I think it would be nice if we are projecting an increase that we put it in that May number. And have that, it won't impact the budget. No, whatever's being presented, that's going to the town. I think the 21st, 23rd, a vote by the budget committee. 22nd, I think, is the public meeting, and the 23rd is when they publicize it. So it's not going to change that number.
Chair, is there a benefit to creating an ad hoc committee to make a recommendation at that next meeting? Or is it something that we should come prepared as individual committee members with thoughts?
I think we come prepared as individual committee members. I just think the timeline's too tight to do an ad hoc committee, although good idea. If it was a longer runway, certainly it would be something that we could discuss, maybe even having a subcommittee about, but
what's
in the essence of enrolling the budget, and then we'll be addressing this before the summer, right? And when people are really making their decisions, I feel like by the middle of June, people know what their next year looks like.
So Travis, let me throw this out there for us all. So if we have our meeting next month, why don't we meet before the regular meeting so that we can have a discussion or what they call a workshop, Sean, like a workshop for us to come in so that we basically hash that out so that before the May meeting starts, we have something, and that's open to the public. They'll can come in. Likewise, we start 45 minutes before 6:15, 6:30, what have you. Come in if you want. Everybody wants to come in with their different ideas. We can put it together and try to draft something so that we're not doing that during the regular meeting.
John, talk to me what that would look like. It's not a terrible idea to come before, but is that not, would that?
What would be the objective of the workshop? I mean, it's you're having it the same night as the meeting. If it's to simply make sure you have public input, you can do one of two things. You have public forum before the agenda item. That's an opportunity for the public to voice their opinion. Or you could modify your agenda to have a public comment relative to that particular agenda item. So if anyone else wants to talk about anything else, they have public forum, and you then take your public comments relative to the tuition piece during the time in which the committee is considering that item. If you think it's going to be a long, lengthy discussion, having the meeting ahead of earlier, starting your meeting earlier, maybe something to consider. If you want to have a workshop and handle it that way, my only concern with that would be with confusion with the public. I saw it on the regular agenda. I showed up at 7 o'clock. Decision's already been made 2 hours earlier. I couldn't make it 2 hours earlier because I'm getting out of work or whatever the circumstances may be. So those are just things to consider, but you can do any number of options.
So on that, I would not say that we would make a vote at the workshop.
Mhm.
It would be done during the regular meeting.
Sure.
So my concern is, yes, the discussion is going to be a long discussion.
Mhm.
Because you have 5 individuals with 5 different ideas to come up with one idea at the end and make sure that that's presented. My other concern is that I always feel like things are always rushed, and I know Travis thinks the opposite. He thinks things are slow, but I always think I don't want to rush things at that one meeting. Give us that 45 minutes or so before the meeting so we can sit there and discuss it, so that we're all on the same page going into that meeting that night. And then if there's public comment, they can come during the workshop or they can come during the regular meeting. If there's any things that we may have missed that they want to point out, I have no problems with that.
So starting the meeting earlier could work, right? Based on that. And then we could absolutely know that we'll open the meeting and there will be a workshop discussion amongst the committee regarding, if you are present, you can certainly do input then. And then at the typical 7 o'clock time, we would start the open meeting. And then public comment would also ensue there, but the agenda item to vote on the tuition would be later in that public meeting at 7 p.m. This way we're consistent with our meeting times. Would that be applicable?
Again, you can do any number of those things as long as it's posted in a timely fashion. I think that accomplishes the goal of allowing lengthy discussion prior to a vote. We can, at our agenda planning meeting, you and I can work through what that precisely looks like to accomplish those goals.
Excellent. Great ideas, everyone. Thank you all. Please.
What surveys have been done of Christian families? I mean, they're accustomed.
Correct. I don't know, do we have a,
Name.
oh, go ahead. Name and address.
Oh, my name is Tom from 173 John Barrow.
We have surveyed them in the past and also offered meetings with them as well. But it is time to, well, they are definitely voting with their registrations. I'm looking at potential registrations for next year, and there are 28 in addition to the current 32. Minus 2 that are leaving. So we're getting up there. So
When you mentioned surveys that have been done,
yes,
how come
a couple of years ago.
just, in terms of inflation rates or whatever, these were different times than a couple of years ago? Just
Absolutely.
Can I ask, when you say surveys into what in particular? What do you look?
sensitivity to price.
Yeah, surveying the customer, I see, share,
Yeah, because I couldn't hear you the first time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's a significant order to survey them all. But you've had interactions with them.
Lots of them.
So you have some idea of who's sensitive, who's not. And just a little summary to say, for an increase of X, you could see minus Y or 0. It's a guess.
I think Mr. McKinnon and I have the pulse of most.
Sorry, will you say that again? So the 32 current enrolled families look like they're coming back.
Yes.
And on top of that, you're saying that there are 28 inquiries or maybe some serious thoughts of registering 28 more students for next year.
Yes, we actually had to cap grade 1.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
and what's gonna happen, I mean, in just,
We may not get them all. I
no, but
Yeah.
We've talked about this before in this room,
Great number.
that we have a much better chance at capturing a kindergarten, a first grade, someone in those very early years and keeping them, because
Yes.
let's face it, once you get to middle school, unless there is a need that is not being met by your district, it's incredible. I can't imagine telling a 13-year-old, great news, I'm pulling you out of this school and putting you in that school, unless it was something that the child kind of initiated, because that is a time where you're closer with your friends, you're going through a lot of changes.
Mhm.
It's tough. It's already tough being a new kid at any age, so let alone at that age. So if we can capture them early, show the value that we provide, we might be able to capture them first grade to 8th grade.
Yeah, most are in our primary grades and, very few in our middle school.
Awesome. This was a good, go ahead.
So 28's a big number potentially. What is our, and I know we're on a rolling enrollment, right? So what is going to be, and we haven't had this discussion, but at what point do we say, okay, we can't take any more on for the next year?
We're starting those discussions for the first time, I think, in the history of this tuition program. It predates me by 2 years, so it is 9 years old now.
Yeah.
And we've hit, this is a great time to have this discussion.
Great problem to have,
Because
but we're hitting the threshold.
we are. In some of the lower grades, yeah.
Kudos to the administration and staff of this school and the students, because clearly something is going right, and other parents and families from out of district are taking note and considering us as an option for their family. That's awesome.
I threw out the idea of a survey. I didn't hear.
We're not going to do a survey.
Not going to check.
In a month's time, we can certainly have individual conversations, the administration with the, but
By email and phone
Do
calls.
some checking. to see
Yeah.
what's-
and to be honest with you, just like I'm sure you even have a better pulse, I also have a pulse. I mean, I can think of just the conversations I have where they're like, not really a concern of mine, and then others that are like, it is a major concern of mine. So I'm sure that your conversations are far more robust and wide reaching, but yeah, they'll be able to solicit those.
So that's something that if I'm here next month, I would hear some comment. These, for the, it's called customers. We will have done some survey, ad hoc survey of those suspected to be sensitive to price increases.
I think, and also we're going to make sure that if there are people that are sensitive to the price increases. I know I've already had conversations that they want to be present at a meeting so they can share their concerns regarding. So, I mean, that's why we didn't do a one fell swoop. Let's have a conversation and a vote tonight. I wanted to start the discussion. I'm hoping that the people in this room, administrators, public, and the people on this committee will go back into the community, share what's going on, and then those that either are yay or nay for it can come forth and voice their concerns or the benefits to having the tuition at where it's at. I know that I'm thinking of a half dozen people that have expressed to me that they would love to come and share their experience at Wilbur McMahon as an out of district fan. So
it seemed as though, I thought I heard you say you might invite some of those people to come here.
well, they all,
Open meeting.
it's an open meeting.
Yeah.
Everyone will be
Everyone's
invited.
invited.
Every parent that knows that this meeting is happening. If you're enrolled in this school, you get an email saying the school committee is meeting.
How many are here? Just.
Listen,
That's good.
yeah, two.
Okay.
And that's cool. Let's see. She's got kids in the school. We've got all got kids. Mariah's got kids.
They're not watching on YouTube.
9 online. Thank you, 9 online.
Oh, that's good. Okay, all right. Something's happening.
All right, we'll move on to, thank you all for your input, and certainly looking forward to the May meeting where we'll have a more robust discussion and an outcome for our community. Action items. Item 11, consider and vote, discuss and vote to approve the modified standard terms and conditions of the Haley Aldrich contract for poly and
Say it.
PPS, treatment system design, procurement support. Well, you go right back to dyslexia when I see that second P. I don't. Perfect. What is it?
We get the idea.
Yeah. So thorough out. Want to speak to that?
Thank you.
Shall I?
So the committee had previously voted on this contract to get the ball rolling with Haley and Aldrich. As you recall, at last meeting, we had a supplement to that. And we discussed some of the concerns surrounding how we're getting our invoices reimbursed through the state of Rhode Island and accessing federal funds when those federal funds are currently subject to litigation. The First Circuit has entered a preliminary injunction requiring the federal government to make payments on those grants, which includes the grant That's a subject of this contract. As of right now, we're good to move forward. What the small adjustment on this contract is simply just bringing it in line with what we discussed at our prior meeting, which is we're doing bi-weekly submission of invoices to get monies back to us on a quicker basis than waiting either monthly or quarterly for those to build up. So that's the only change. It's really a non-substantive change, but I just wanted to make sure that we had the committee's vote on it so we can enforce that language against Haley Aldridge if for some reason the billing is not keeping up.
Awesome. Is there any discussion?
I have one question. So what's our experience been so far with the money the bills that we have submitted?
My understanding, I talked to the superintendent, my understanding is they
Things are
have been
moving forward.
moving forward. I mean, there is some time to move to the Department of Health and the bureaucracy at the state level, but it's better than waiting monthly or quarterly.
I just
So-
received another invoice today, submitted it to John, he will submit it. It has to be approved by RIDO, and then it goes to the infrastructure bank that holds the monies for the federal grant. And it is in a thawed state at this point.
Right now.
No longer frozen, so that should, fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I suspect unless the United States Supreme Court intervenes, nothing is going to negatively occur during the lifetime of this agreement. But whether the Supreme Court intervenes or not, I don't have a crystal ball.
Have we got reimbursed for any bills that we've submitted?
It's still the hot.
They pay them directly. So once I submit it, they ACH the vendor.
So it keeps
Once
us,
we approve it, we're not outlaying any
That's right.
cash.
so our vendors have been taken care of.
So far, yep, they send me the approval.
I'm good with that.
All right.
Oh, so good.
Do I have a motion to approve this terms and conditions to the Haley Aldrich contract?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Motion carries unanimously. Item 11.2, consider, discuss, and vote to award the school bus transportation service to Ocean State Transit for fiscal year 26 through 28. Mr. McNamee.
The 5-year bus contract is expiring as of June 30th, the 26th. So we engaged Alliance Education Associates, which is Rich LeBrady, is a consultant that we've used for the last.
1 second, just to clarify, you said the 26th. It's expiring June 30th to 25.
25, excuse me. Yep.
So we're on the same page.
So we advertised the bid on June 28th, 25. We had 3 separate addendas, one on February 26th, March 7th, and March 10th, as indicated up there. The bid packages were emailed to 76 people, representing 64 potential bidders. We had a bidders meeting on February 12th, and in attendance were 5 Whaling City for Students, School Transportation of America, Durham School, and Ocean State. Of those 5, 3 eventually bid on the contract. Those bids were opened on March 14th in Tiverton. And the results of the bids were as follows. For example, for Little Compton, Ocean State bid for the 3-year period was $2,029,992. For a student was $2,085,074, and the Whaling City was $2,245,004. So based on the review of the responses, as well as other information that was submitted along with the bids, the consultant is recommending that the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for this contract would be Ocean State Transportation.
So I'm just not familiar. So this was a recommendation from from an outside organization, just based on looking at bids?
So the way this process works is under state law, there's a municipal bidding statute that requires that public entities such as a school department follow certain procedures when soliciting bids for any type of project, including a bus contract. And in this case, several school districts, including Little Compton, got together, which is authorized under state law, to allow for those school departments to kind of marshal their resources and hopefully gain some efficiencies by bidding out together. And then the bids come in and you can see different price points from different bidders for different districts. And so this consultant was hired on behalf of those school districts, including Little Compton, to assess the bids. There's criteria that is required under law to be established ahead of time so the bidders understand what needs to go into their bid. And then that criteria, those bids are open. That criteria is compared to the actual bid. Each bid is graded, and then a lowest responsible bidder is recommended to each entity, including Little Compton. And that's the recommendation that you have before you.
Okay. Is up for a vote tonight?
Correct. Are you done, guys?
Yes, yeah, well, for now.
So are we under any laws that we have to take low bid? How does that work with state law? Or is that just by recommendation? So how does that?
But it is the recommendation from the Alliance Education Associates does follow that criteria, unless you have significant concerns with how it was graded. My recommendation would be to follow the recommendation, because that criteria, that objective criteria, is there and scored. You want to be very careful about how you make decisions under the municipal bidding statute, so it doesn't appear that there's any sort of favoritism and whatnot. So
I'm not asking to change anything on that. This is not my wheelhouse, but my question being is that what are our requirements as a committee? I mean, are we obligated to take the lowest bid is, I guess, is my.
Well, so in 2020, we had one bidder. So now we have 3 bids. So in the competitive bidding process, actually having 3 bidders was a good thing from our standpoint. So it was competitively bid. Each one of the bidders were qualified to provide those services. So the independent consultant kind of handles it for all the districts, accumulates everything. I participated in that. In my oversight, I actually had oversight for the whole project to make sure that he got everything out, and I coordinated with the other districts well too. So we participated in that process. And at the end of the day, his recommendation to Ocean State would be the lowest responsible bidder. So that's what I'm bringing to the school committee.
So would we be able to be afforded everything that we have now for services? Is that still that would still fall true? Because it seems like we always had issues with getting transportation for special field trips and what have you. So that's been taken into consideration.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been difficult.
Again, I don't want to take all the time on this, but.
I'll write about that.
Yeah.
What other communities besides the ones listed here use Ocean State?
Barrington uses Ocean State. East Providence may use Ocean State as well too.
Are there any additional, I mean, Michael asked one of the questions I had in terms of, are there any additional benefits to Ocean State that we currently don't have with first student?
I don't believe there are any additional benefits. I mean, they're all going to be able to provide that basic transportation services.
Are there comparisons of safety records taken into?
There are.
They're vetted by the consultant.
Real deep dive.
And the consultant's previous role prior to his consulting firm was?
Superintendent. But he was in charge of transportation. He's got, I don't know how many years of experience. He was actually engaged by Providence to help them out with their issues when they had busing issues in Providence.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other discussion?
There's the whole bonding issue that was at the end of your paperwork. That's a different number, right? And that was done equally between everybody, right? Everybody that did it, it was all taken into consideration the same way.
All right, if there is no further discussion, I will consider a motion to award the school bus transportation services to Ocean State Transit for fiscal year 26 through 28. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Final item 11.3. School committee member requests for information from administration and or legal counsel. Does anyone have any requests for the administration or legal counsel? Excellent. Item 12.1, I will consider a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay tuned to